Remember, God will never call you to a place that he is not already present. Never. He will never call you to a place that he is not already present. But you've got to get in before God will show up. When you get in it, God will meet you there. He'll tell you, you go get up, Abraham, and go to a place that I will show you. Do you think that God was telling Abraham to go somewhere that he wasn't? It would be against his nature. God is ubiquitous. Oh, I hope I didn't choke you. You'd recognize this word, omnipresent. He's omnipresent. Every place that you go, God already is. But you got to get into something before God will come in, because there is a price to pay. There's a person to please. There is a price to pay. Number 3, there is a purpose to pursue. A purpose to pursue. A purpose to pursue. If you're going to be a disciple of the Lord Jesus Christ, you've got to have a burning, blazing, passionate persistence and say, I will follow you anywhere. I'll follow you anywhere. I'll follow you to the ends of the earth. When Elisha came into Elijah's life, or Elijah came into his life, Elisha pledged to him, he said, wherever you're going, I'm going. It was a price to pay. But he had to pursue it. He had to pursue it. He had to pursue it. It's interesting that people that tell me that they are pursuing something and they're not going after anything. How are you standing on the promises while you're sitting on the premises? No, you got to go after it. You have to go after it. When you get filled with God, he'll give you his nickname, G-O, go. You don't sit still. He puts you on the go. He puts you on the go. So you have to do something every day in the direction of your destiny or your life mission. Do something every day in the direction of your destiny or your life mission. You have to plan purposefully. Plan purposefully. Plan purposefully. Prepare prayerfully. Prepare prayerfully. And pursue persistently. You're not going to always get it the first time around, the second time around. Pursue persistently. You have to pursue his glory. You have to pursue this thing persistently. You have to go after it with tenacity. You have to go after this thing. There's not only a person to please and a price to pay and a purpose to pursue, there is also a prize to possess. A prize to possess. And here's the question to you. Is it worth it to serve Jesus Christ? There is a prize to possess. Before pursuing something or someone, ask yourself the question, is the catch worth the chase? Have you ever gone after somebody and then after you get them, you find out stuff about them, and the more you find out, the less you like? No show of hands. But that's a real bummer when you discover that the catch was not worth the chase. It just wasn't worth it. But there is a prize to possess. There is a prize to possess. It really is. There's something that once you get it, you realize, I wouldn't give anything in the world for this. I wouldn't give anything for Jesus. You can have this whole world, but give me, listen, I'm just telling you, there is a prize to possess. It's, even if it's nothing more than his coming to the end of your journey and hearing the words, well done, thou good and faithful servant. Thou good and faithful servant. Now I want you to notice something here in verse 19 when it talks about what Elijah did in terms of making a disciple. He departed from where he was. That means you've got to leave. Don't wait for everything to come to you. You got to bust a move. You claim like you waiting on a husband. Be found. Get in a position where you will found. Listen, may I just remind you, Ruth had to go to Boaz's house. Naomi told us, listen, baby, ain't nothing around here. Naomi said, listen, honey, listen. All my children are dead. I don't have another son to give you. My son is dead. Go down to Boaz's house. She told her what to do. She told her where to go. She had to bust a move. Elijah found Elisha. I want you to notice that he found him. He found him. When he found him. He found him. Notice that. He found him. He was plowing with 12 yoke of oxen. He found him. Elijah found Elisha. Because you see, disciples are not just born, they are made. They're not just born, they are made. Disciples must be found. They must be found. And that means to us that discipleship must be intentional. We're talking about disciples, not mere decisions. Discipleship must be intentional. There is a process. There's a process. Here's the first step of it, is that you got to discover something. You got to discover the person. He found Elisha. He had to find them. He found them. You discover it. Step one. Step two is that you have to develop. He developed him. He carried him with him. Every place that he went, they didn't go one place without the other. He developed him through training, mentorship, apprenticeship. He trained him. You discover, you develop, and third step is deploy. Deploy. You don't train a person for war and then never send them to battle. You got to be deployed at some point. What good is it? You call yourself a marksman and you got a gun and it's always just ready, aim, ready, aim, ready, aim. No. At some point you got to pull the trigger. You got to fire. Discover, develop, deploy. It's a process. So when Elijah found Elisha, he was ready to be discipled. He already had the first level of discipleship by being mentored by his own father, Shaphat. He was the son of Shaphat. This is a guy that he understands. This man already understands order. He's already somebody's son. He understands order. You have to come into an order. You cannot help people who will not submit to an order. You can't help them. You cannot help people who will not be ordered in their life. Talented people, but have no discipline of order, and their lives never amount to anything because they have no discipline for order. He was the son of Shaphat. He was already somebody's son. And you see, when I look for folks to work with, I don't look for people who need my help. I look for people who are ready to receive my help. There's a difference. It's almost like the difference between somebody who is starving and somebody who's hungry. The starving man needs bread, but he has no hunger for it. But you have to give it to somebody who's hungry. And so I don't just correct the wrong, I correct the humble. Because the word humble or teachable, it means teachable. Meekness is teachableness. It means teachable. It means that you don't act like you know it all. Because you can't teach a man a lesson that he thinks that he already knows. You can't teach a woman a lesson she thinks she already knows. And she thinks she knows you because of the last joker she's been with. You can't even teach her, I'm not him. Stop treating me like I was the other guy who abused you. And you can't even get beyond certain things until you can deal with the person that's got teachableness in them. Teachableness. 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 Pliableness. Listen, ladies, particularly if you're over a certain age, and I won't say what that is. But it's not always that men are looking for young women. They are looking for moldable, teachable women. Teachable. Teachable. You get a certain age, you're set in your way. It's like, This is it. You either like me or you don't. Teachable. 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 They're looking for somebody teachable. If I'm going to work with somebody, I want them to be teachable. I've been this way all my life. Teachable. See, you can't teach an old dog new, but we want somebody who is teachable, because when you get ready to make a new union, it's got to be give and take on both sides. This one has got to learn and the other person has got to learn. You got to learn how to work with each other. Because when there's nobody but you can do what you want, how you want, when you want it. But when you're working with somebody else and you got to be ready at the same time, you got to have some coordination. Somebody got to be teachable. Somebody got to say, you got to do this and I'll do that, and let's work this thing and we can make dinner together. But it's got to be teamwork of something teachable. Because when you got to work with another human being, you got to learn some things. that you don't have to know when it's just you. Teacher, does that make sense to you? So Elijah was looking for somebody who was teachable. Teachable. Look for teachable. Not wrong folks, but teachable people. There are people that are wrong and don't want to be taught. Don't waste your time until they are ready to be taught. Till they're ready to be taught. When the student is ready, the teacher will appear. When the student is ready, the teacher will appear. Elisha was already busy in the process of cultivating something when Elijah found him. He was plowing with 12 yoke of oxen. So look for somebody who is already working. Somebody who has energy. You need somebody who has energy. Say energy. Energy is defined as the ability to do work. It's the ability to do work. I love something that Dr. Vance Havner said. He says the problem in the churches today stems from the fact that the unfit, appointed by the unwilling, do the unnecessary. So interesting. But may I just remind you that the first law of thermodynamics states that energy cannot be created nor destroyed. It can only be changed from one form to another. That's the first law of thermodynamics. So you have to look for people with energy, because energy cannot be created. You can give a person your ideas, but you can't give them energy. The problem with getting old is that you begin to lose energy. And so you have to surround yourself with things that stimulate, that charge and change certain things into energy. Energy can neither be created nor destroyed. It can only change forms. So if you've got somebody who doesn't have any energy, you can't give it to them. You know what will end up happening? It'll sap yours. I'm just sorry, because my battery working in my car doesn't mean it's going to make yours work. And if you give too many people a charge off of your battery's going dead. It's transferring power from one to another. It's transferring. But look for people who have energy. Energy is the ability to do work. So Elijah knew Elisha had energy because he was working, plowing with 12 yoke of oxen. It takes some energy to get back there. They didn't have John Deere tractors back in the day. It takes some energy to walk behind oxen, 12 oxen, plowing out there in the field. Energy. And then Newton's first law of motion says that an object at rest remains at rest unless it is acted upon by a force. And an object in motion, it remains in motion and at constant velocity unless acted upon by a force. An object at rest stays at rest. An object in motion stays in motion. So listen, ladies, listen. You find out whether he's got any energy, but whether or not he's working. I didn't say whether he had a job. I said whether he's working. He's got to be working. He's got to be doing something. The worst curse in your life is to get somebody in your life who's lazy. Laziness is a curse. It'll churn something on the inside of your stomach. It'll make you sick to come in and see them laying on the... Just get up, man. Dude said, get up. Do I have to tell you? And remember Newton's first law of motion: an object at rest stays at rest unless acted upon by a force. Now, you could be that force. And an object in motion stays at motion and at constant velocity unless acted upon by a force. It's interesting. And listen, you show what you're waiting on by showing what you're working on. You show what you're waiting on by showing what you're working on. I'm waiting on. I'm waiting on my husband. You show what you are waiting on by showing what you are working on. Remember, you don't get what you want in life, you get what you prepare for. And there are so many people in the world who want success, but they prepare for failure. And here was Elisha breaking up the ground, getting ready for the soil to receive seed. So Elisha was already in a process of being productive. He was in process of being not only productive, but also reproductive. Seed is about reproduction. It's one thing about productivity, it's another thing about reproduction. And so it was at that point that then God sent Elijah with much seed to sow into Elisha because he knew that he was good ground. Do you think that that was really a coincidence? That here when this man was plowing, breaking up ground for the ground to be able to receive seed, that God now sends somebody into his life to start sowing incredible seed. And here's the principle here, is that you have to test them before you teach them. You have to test them before you teach them. Jesus was not entrusted with anointing and ministry until he had been tested in the wilderness for 40 days. Then he came out of the wilderness with power and anointing after 40 days. Because you have to test them before you teach them. You test people to see if they respect your time. Because if a person does not respect your time, neither will they respect your wisdom. And once a person has wasted your time, you can't get it back. Test them and see if they respect time. Tell them to meet you at a certain time. If they don't respect your time, they won't respect your wisdom. We're talking about making disciples, not merely decisions. Something that'll live on after you and something that will also reproduce. Reproduce. Test people to see if they respect your time. And when you're talking about testing people, what are you testing exactly? You're testing to see whether or not the person actually has an appetite for what you have to teach them. You're testing to see whether or not they have appetite. How hungry are they? You can prove hunger by appetite. The proof of desire is pursuit. The proof of desire is pursuit. And I want to say this to you. An appetite change demands a location change. Let me say that to you again. An appetite change demands a location change. Because many of you, when you leave this service today, you're going to have an appetite. And we're not serving the chicken biscuits here. So it would demand a location change. Are you listening? If you've got an appetite, it must demand a change of location. That you will leave where you are if you've got an appetite. If you've got an appetite for learning, you'll get from the place where you are, because not all knowledge is where you're located. You have to go on a pursuit. Life, the greatest lessons of life are not learned in a course, they are learned on a course. And I'm on a course of life, and that's where I really learn my greatest lessons. When I'm on the course, that's where I learn my greatest lessons, on the course. And this is where he comes. And I want you to notice this, that when Elijah threw his mantle on Elisha, something happened to him. Whenever your life comes under divine covering, something happens to you. May I remind you that it was when Joseph's father made a coat of many colors and put it on Joseph. Until that time, Joseph never dreamed. Are you listening? He never dreamed until he got covered with something from his daddy. And may I remind you that God says in the last days, I will pour out, he prophesied through Joel the prophet, said in the last days, I will pour out my spirit. I'm going to cover my people with my spirit. And the moment that my people become covered with my spirit, they will dream dreams and they will see visions. Whenever you come under covering, God will begin to ignite dreams and visions in your life. My God, something came on Elisha because he came under. And there are too many people that want something to come on them, and they don't want to come under anything. It doesn't work that way. If you're not willing to come under, nothing will come on. It's amazing, but I was just participating in the institution of higher learning. And when they put me in all of my regalia, of the doctoral robe and all of this, and then this stuff that comes all around, I had to stoop down to come under so that I could be cloaked with that represents knowledge and respect and power. But I was too tall, I had to come under. And had I not bent down, I couldn't have gotten on me what needed to be on me because of the arrogance of not yielding to bend down. You have to bend to receive. Come under. And so we are learning something from the life of Elisha, who comes into this place. And I want you to see here how You have this appetite change because of location change. Because you have to become what I would call wholly discontented with where you are in order for that to give you the willingness to step out and to run after something else. And that's one of the ways that you know that it's time to leave the party, is when you just can't stand it anymore. It's like, I can't go in that office another day. Your grace for tolerating the place and the people will start running out on you. When God gets ready for you to get out of the nest, he starts taking the cushion out of the nest and you start getting stuck. It's a sign that you've been in this too long and you're not supposed to be here. I didn't build this for you. And until I remove the cushiony stuff to let some stuff stick you, you'll never leave the nest. He's trying to get us out of the nest. But Elisha left the oxen and he ran after Elijah, ran after him. You know why he ran? Because the opportunity of a lifetime is only available during the lifetime of the opportunity. There's times that you have to carpe diem, seize the moment. You've got to seize the moment of that day and go after it right at that time. He dropped and he said, hey, I need to go kiss my mom and daddy. He said, listen, if you want your mom and daddy, go on with them. He said, what do I have to do for you? You prove hunger by proving priorities. Priorities shows your values. He says, if you want your mama, go on with your mama. I'm not trying to take you from your mom and your daddy. But if you want what I got, I'm finna roll. You're going to roll with me, you come on and roll. Don't miss the moment of your life to change when a mantle is thrown on you. You go hard after what you want, or you go home. Go hard or go home. Elisha left security. He had a job, but he left security to pursue opportunity. Selah. He left security to pursue opportunity. Make sure it's God telling you, though. Don't do it because humans' emotions have gotten frustrated. You have to be real careful. Make sure that it's a God thing, that it's a holy discontent and not a carnal discontent. Because if there's something in you that tells you that greater opportunity is waiting for you, you have to ask yourself that question. Is there something in me that's telling me that greater opportunity is waiting for me? And if that is true with you, here's some things I want you to tell God with me. You have to tell God, God, I want more. God, I want more. Say that with me. I want more. Come on, say, I need more. So give me the ability to see more, to hear more, to hold more, to know more, to give more, to manage more, to do more, to lead more, to make more, to grow more. You got to have an appetite for something to happen. God, give me more. You got to have appetite. Whenever you have an appetite, it demands a location change. If you're sitting in your bedroom and get hungry, you got to go to the kitchen. Appetite demands a location change. It demands it. It demands it. You follow your heart because that's where your passion is. And may I just remind you that when you really understand the difference between calling, a real vocation, so few people ever enter into their real vocation, their calling, their vocation, their vocari. They deal with stuff to pay the bills. But the things that you love to do make you want to stay up all night. But the things that you have to do keep you up all night. There is a difference. And you'll notice in verse 21 here that when he talks about Elisha turned back from him and took a yoke of oxen and slaughtered them and boiled their flesh using the oxen's equipment, and then he gave it to the people and they ate. See, one man's trash becomes another man's treasure. One of the reasons that he slew his oxen, because oxen are a symbol for our works. They're a symbol for work. The oxen, it's a symbol for work. And Elisha killing those oxen that he was plowing so that he would never be tempted to go back to what God was calling him away from. Because if you don't slay your oxen, the moment that you have some bad times, you're going to want to go back. The moment you start having trouble, the moment that money gets tight, you're going to want to go back to that other job. The moment. And so he had to burn that bridge so I'll never be tempted to go. He had to destroy the black book with the cell numbers. The proof that you're over the past is that you don't live in it. And there are some people who are afraid to kill the oxen of dead works in their life in case they need something to fall back on. Here's my word to you today. It's to finish one chapter before beginning another. Finish one relationship before you're beginning another. I am utterly amazed at the number of people who have not finished their divorce before they start dating something else. You're dealing with rebound relationships anyway. Don't fool yourself. I want you to hear me as a counsel of God. Close the chapter. God is a God of covenant. He honors covenant. You violate biblical principle. I don't care what the world says. I'm not elected by the world. I'm not here to peddle philosophy. I'm here to help you to see the mind of God. God is a God of covenant. He honors covenant. When God looks at a relationship, he knows and sees only the covenant of it. And we cannot waltz in and out of one as though there is no covenant, because God is a God of covenant and who holds covenants down to thousands of generations.
Thank you for watching Power for Living with Bishop Dale C. Bronner. Join us again next time for Power for Living, where revelation is power. Power for living.